A very good evening to you who is watching Church of Uganda Family TV. I will welcome you to HealthPort. HealthPort is a program brought to you by Makerere University School of Public Health together with Church of Uganda Family TV. And this program is centered around basically three themes. We look at maternal and child health, early childhood development. We also look at other public health concerns that are caused by very many other aspects. Today, we are delighted to have a team from Makerere University Environmental Health Students Association, and we are going to discuss climate change and its effect on health, but also the environment. Of course, we know that 26th September every year is a day dedicated for environmental health. So it is the World Environmental Health Day, which is very, very important that we take time and reflect on environmental health. Edrin Austin Mukalazi is my name. With us is it ladies first? All gents first. Ladies first. Okay, we have Bridget Alinaitwe. Bridget, I kindly greet our viewers as we get into the discussion today.
Okay, thank you very much for the warm welcome. I greet you all in the name of Jesus Christ. My name is Bridget Alinaitwe, and I serve as the General Secretary from WESA, as you already said, Makerere University Environmental Health Students Association. Okay. Very delighted to be part of today's program.
We are also delighted to have you. There is said General Secretaries have money. You have some.
That's my
at the extreme end is the one Nsubuga Raymond Moses. Nsubuga, you're most welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, kindly greet the viewers.
Well, I greet you all in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Nsubuga Raymond Moses is my name, and I'm honored to serve the mighty School of Public Health as the 89th Guild Representative Council on the 89th Guild Government. And I'm also a member of Makerere University Environmental Health Students Association. I'm a finalist, and surely I'm very passionate about climate change and health. I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator, for the opportunity. Okay. Thank you so much, Family TV.
Thank you so much for that. We now get into our discussion. Today we are discussing climate change and its effect on health and the environment. But maybe we can start with what climate change is. If we can start it from there. So I'll start with you. What is climate change to someone who might try to understand what exactly we are talking about?
Simply, I could say climate change is the long-term shift in the weather patterns, but also in the state of the temperature. Let me say the temperature, the general global temperatures. So this has happened over time because statistics show that from the 80s up to now, every other decade we've had the temperatures rise, continuously rising. So basically, I could say that is the brief definition of climate change. Yeah. It is in line with the temperatures and the weather patterns. Okay.
Now, what do you think causes the climate change, the shift in the, like you've elaborated it? What brings this shift?
There are quite a number of causes of climate change, but to start with, I think I'll start with the commonest ones. Many of us, or all of us, generate waste in our houses, our homes, yes. But the way we manage the waste, one, if we burn it openly, there are these emissions that are given off, and they go into the atmosphere and they tamper with the original state of the atmosphere, and they cause some uncalled for changes, I should say. But also still we've come to realize that around Kampala, much of the waste that is generated here is taken to Chitezi for waste management. That is why it is finally disposed. But the management at Chitezi is not as it should be, I should say, yes, because there are no ventures in place to manage the emissions from the degradation of the waste, because remember, it is a mixture of biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste. If the biodegradable starts decomposing, there are emissions that are given off, the methane and all those other greenhouse gases. But there is no way these gases are managed, so they end up into the atmosphere and cause these changes. But again, we'll look at it from an aspect of farming as well.
Yes.
Over time, we've had the farming, especially the animal keeping. people are keeping animals, especially cows, for dairy products, and the waste that is generated also is at times poorly managed, because when the cow dung and all that waste is decomposing, it still gives up emissions. Yes, so these emissions are not managed very well, and they still end up into the atmosphere, the same atmosphere that we share. So there are quite a number. Then transportation is also an issue. The mode of transport that we use, it keeps burning fossil fuels. We use fossils, we use oil. Yes, so this keeps giving off emissions to the atmosphere, and that brings about all these challenges. And I think the last one will be deforestation. We've come to realize, if you take off time and look at how Kampala as a city has kept on evolving, you come to realize that the green patterns are lessening, I should say. The trees are cut over and over, even around the entire country, for different reasons, to create space for farming, infrastructure development, or probably use these as raw materials to produce certain goods. So this is costing us, because originally the trees are supposed to at least absorb that carbon dioxide that is given off as also a greenhouse gas. But the more we reduce them, the more we stay with the emissions around us. So they keep around, they trap the heat waves, and the temperatures increase, the patterns change, we end up having changing seasons, and it is really costing us. So basically those are some of the causes I could.
And like you said, it is indeed costing us. I think it is very, very important that we pay attention to some of these details, because you don't know, you never know what you're doing and how it will come back to you. So Bridget, we are discussing about climate change, and in your perspective, what do you think is causing these changes?
To start with, our lifestyle as humans, because that always acts as the starting point. As he said, we all generate wastes, but we don't know how to manage them well. So these wastes, in the process of accumulating, they are releasing a lot of things into the atmosphere, which are not good for our health. And he also talked about open burning. People do a lot of open burning. Someone who collects a lot of Guvera from their home, they just want to burn it from outside their house. But we don't know that the smoke that is coming out of it, out of what you've burnt, is dangerous for us. And not only our health, the environment as well. As it rises in the atmosphere, all gases that are in the atmosphere being affected, and that doesn't stop around your home, it affects the whole world. That's why climate change these days is a global issue, and we have to work hand in hand with everyone to see that we can curb it down.
Actually, talking about curbing it down, I think let us talk about what can be done in the first place. What do you think can be done to curb this problem?
A lot of things could be done, starting with the proper management of solid wastes, because if you know your home is generating those that can decompose and those that can't, when you have peelings, you've eaten fruits, the leftovers, all those things can decompose. You could make a compost pit somewhere. You'll be putting them there so that at the end of it all, they can come back to you as manure. So that is one way. Then for these that are non-biodegradable, the plastic bottles, the glasses, all those things, we could reuse them. Imagine you've bought cooking oil, then you have that jerry can. It's not a must that you have to throw it away. You could keep it for other uses. So that's what we mean by reuse, recycle. Let's try not to think that every waste is for disposal. You could use that bottle for some other thing. You could use the Kavera. Instead of you going to the shop every day and getting a new Kavera every day, you're accumulating them home. Use the Kavera today, tomorrow go back with it, so that whatever you're buying can be repacked. That's how we can reduce, so that the rate at which we are burning them can be reduced, and then we can conserve the environment in one way or the other. You know that one by one makes a burn. If you stop burning today, even the neighbor stops, we'll find that at the end of it all, in a month, if 30 people were burning, at least 2 are still burning, and then we see how we can work hand in hand with them to also stop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We are taking a short commercial break, and when we return, we are going to continue with the discussion. Of course, we want to mind about our health, but as some of the contamination is in the environment, it could not be you, it could be a neighbor, but when you keep quiet about it, it comes back to you in a dangerous way. We are taking a short commercial break. Stick with us. Welcome back from the commercial break. This is Health Pot, a program brought to you by Makerere University School of Public Health. This program is measured and centered around three areas. One is maternal and child health. We also look at early childhood development, but then we also look at other public health concerns. Today, we are discussing climate change and how it affects the health, our health, but also the environment. And with us is Bridget Alinaitwe, who is the General Secretary of Makerere University Environmental Health Students Association. We also have Raymond Soboga Moses, who is a member of MOESA. We are discussing in details. I believe by the time we conclude this talk, you too will have checked how, one, you dispose of your wastes, but also how you manage them before you even dispose them of. We have a very big problem when it comes to, sometime back, NEMA came up with a directive together with Uganda Police, and we all celebrated. So they required all public vehicles to have dustbins, trash bins. Yeah. We all celebrated, but I don't know how that ended. That even today you still see someone throwing a bottle or polythene through the window and they drop it at the roadside, which is really very dangerous. Maybe you're doing it out of ignorance and you don't know how this will come. Of course, you're going to Masaka, but you stay maybe in Matuga, so you don't know how it will come back to you. After all, you're not a resident of Masaka. So this is how it will get back to you. Listen carefully. Raymond, yes. We are looking at what can be done before even getting to the effects. What do you think can be done to solve this problem?
Okay, I've been of late so passionate about one mode of clean energy. Okay, it is slightly cleaner than most of these that we use. So if at all we can get off the use of fossils, especially for cooking, you come to realize that most of our people are still in the rural setting, and even those that are within towns, because I've tried to walk around Kampala and you still find people using firewood, people using charcoal, yes. But I've come across people who use briquettes. Yes. Briquettes that are made from banana peelings and clay. One, they last longer than the charcoal that you have to buy on a daily, or the firewood that you have to go and fetch on a daily, of which it is becoming more expensive of late. So I feel like briquettes are a better way as we transition from the burning of coal as a source of energy to use of clean energies like solar and all those other things. But those call for bigger measures, involvement of the government and all these other guys. But I also feel like the issue of farms, I should say, how we manage the wastes. You find people keeping cattle in their homes, but they keep the heaps of waste somewhere. But I feel like we can have well-defined means of managing this waste. We can compost the waste, but we can also tap the biogas. I think it is a clean mode of energy that we can adopt, which is not so expensive, because one, the raw materials are with you at your home or at your farm, and then it is you still that is going to gain from this. So it will save you from the electricity costs and all these other things before we think of shifting to solar and maybe wind energy. But I feel like those are the immediate things we could start with as we transition, because truth is this is not a one-day thing. As we said, it is a long-term shift. Yes. But we start small. We start small, and it starts with you. Yes. If you start, your neighbor starts, your friend starts, convince everyone to start, then we'll get there, definitely. It might not be tomorrow or next week, but we'll definitely get there if we join hands and work together, because it is not affecting me. Even if it is me who is keeping the cattle, it is not going to affect me alone, because when the seasons change, we are all affected, all around the country. Yes, it has this cross-border effect, I should say. If, as you said, it comes back to you, but it also affects those probably who are not doing the same thing. So I feel like we can all start with mindset change and adopt these modes and see how best we improve and make a change, make a difference. At least we can be remembered for that drive that we started.
Sure. And by the way, when you look at it, you realize it is even a little more cost friendly.
Sure.
Like you talked about briquettes. There's someone next to this building who uses briquettes. So he was telling me at one time that if I was to use a full sack of charcoal, I would use 4 sacks a day. But I use, yes, because they do a lot of chapatis, they do a lot of things, morning to evening, and they supply to very many points. But he says I use briquettes, and when I put in 4 of them, those will work from morning to midday.
It's interesting.
And then, so he tells me I use just a quarter sack of charcoal, and I use these briquettes. I need like 20 briquettes a day only. And I think it's really cost friendly if we embrace some of these things. Sure. But also they are environmental friendly. So you realize our forests are safe. You realize there is no emissions from firewood and all that. Yeah, thank you so much. Now we look at the challenges, because this is now where the gist is, the effects. Because someone would really say, okay, we can adopt all these things, we can do all these things, but maybe we don't know how big the problem is and what will come out. Like I was giving an example of people who throw stuff through the windows. So you're like, okay. Or someone walks with their Kavera. At one morning, I met a lady walking with a Kavera full of rubbish. So she dumps it as if it has dropped by mistake. She dumps it at the roadside, and the person said, "Man, you're dropping your stuff here." Please pick your rubbish and go.
Those are the people we want.
Now, they don't know how big the problem is.
It seems so small.
And okay. Everyone does it, but it is very big. Let's look at some of the effects of this, and then maybe someone will say a reason why they should embrace some of these things we've talked about. Bridget.
Thank you very much. I would start with something that we can all see. Of recent, floods have been floods within this city.
Yeah.
You wake up one morning, it has rained, and that day Twitter will be full of pictures full of flooding everywhere. So it's happening because of how we are living, how we are conducting ourselves, and all rotates around climate change.
And at the end of the day, we cry out to KCCA.
Now, what do we want KCCA to do when we are not heeding to what they are telling us? Because flooding can come as a result of very many things. One, people are clearing away wetlands because they want to set up industries, people want to settle there, but we don't know that the wetlands we are cutting down are used to hold water. When it rains, the water drains towards that side and it holds it. But because you've cleared the place, rainwater will come and it has nowhere to go. So those are the floodings that we are seeing. But also, coming back to solid wastes, now like that woman who dropped that Kavera of rubbish, she doesn't know where it will end. So it will just join the drainage channel, and when water comes, you find the drainage channel is already full of bottles, buveras, and water has nowhere to go except it flooding.
With when you talk about with due respect, I stay in Kawempe, and with due respect, I respect the people who stay in Kawempe. But there is one thing that challenges me every morning. Every morning as I'm coming for work, I find boys picking up the plastic bottles, but in the evening you find plastic bottles in the drainage. So the question is, are they these boys who pick them and then dump them again, or there are people who still dump them again because they know someone will come and pick them out? Of course they're doing it for business, but then I think I look at a situation where these boys will not come to pick those bottles for 3 days.
And I think it is possible, because as you've said, it is not them that pick them and then drop them in the channel, obviously, because for them they're gaining out of it.
Yes.
But then there is this one person, not one, because it is normal to some people, which is not normal. It seems normal. One just drinks and they drop it in the channel.
Like that.
It looks like a pit to them. It looks like a dump site to them, which is not okay. And I think that calls for mindset change. Calls for mindset change and involvement of everyone, because people look at it as the role of NEMA, the role of KCCA,
Yeah.
but it is everyone's role.
Everyone's responsibility.
If it affects you, it is your. In fact, even if it doesn't affect you, it is your role because it has a broader effect. Yes, it can
Yeah.
affect Bridget, who comes probably from the west, but I also come from somewhere else in the central. But we are all facing the same challenges.
Because of one action that was taken by one person.
Sure,
So
sure.
it's everyone's responsibility. But even besides flooding, there is an effect of hotter temperatures. Me, I sleep in Wandegea, but at one point you feel like during the night you even don't want to hear something like a blanket because the place is real hot. And we know this hotness comes with a lot of effects. People will sleep, they will be uncomfortable, they will be
Exactly.
stressed. You've been stressed already by lectures full day. You've come to rest, but still you can't because it's too hot. So we can't think that maybe someone is burning something outside. It's what those small things that we do every day that cause the accumulation and increase in temperatures, and we are being affected. And
Maybe
a lot.
in addition to that,
Yes.
about the temperatures, you come to realize that many of our people work from outdoors.
Yes.
Yes.
It is a few of us that are probably in these areas that are air conditions and
Yes.
are in offices. Many of us are doing blue collar jobs.
Yes.
Yes. People are out there hustling from the morning to the evening. But the moment these temperatures keep shifting, there are times when it is really hot and people are like, oh God, are we coming closer to the sun? Or things like that. But
There are times we step out of this building and you're like, wow, it is extremely hot.
Yeah.
You don't even want to walk in the sun.
But then there is a
That's
person
it.
who is supposed to be working outdoors the entire day, Monday to Friday,
Yes.
or probably the entire week, Monday to Monday. So the more these people are exposed, the higher the chances of them getting such issues of heat fainting, heat exhaustion, heat strokes. You see people collapsing and falling. Yes?
Yes.
We might have not experienced this, but how sure are we it might not happen tomorrow?
Exactly.
Because these are things that come with the continuous increase in the temperatures. Yes?
True.
And we've been told that temperatures continue increasing. There is nowhere along this curve that it is yet dropping. But if we act now, I guess we can reduce on the changes.
Yes.
Sure. Bridget, any other effect?
Yeah, the only effect now is change in seasons. And this, even if I don't explain so much, we've seen. Those days we knew rainy season starts from this month up to this, but these days it just disappears. You be in drought for some good time, then out of the blue rains come. And when they come with flooding. Gamba, we are just there. But all these are effects of climate change. So we have to work hand in hand and make sure everything is in line, because change in seasons calls for shortage of food. That's why food is very expensive these days, because even the farmers, they plant expecting rain.
Yes.
Sunshine comes and destroys everything. So the little that is left has to be hiked in terms of prices so that we can get. So as we've said, you can do it out of ignorance or just because you don't care, but at the end of it all, it's you to buy a bunch of matoke at 100k, yet you could get it at 20k. So this calls for collective efforts from all stakeholders, everyone. Yes.
Thank you so much, Bridget. Actually, when you talked about change in seasons, you reminded me of recent. I visited a certain farmer, and he told me now agriculture has become expensive and for the rich, because now for you to benefit out of agriculture, you should have an irrigation system.
Yeah.
Because he told me, for example, we planted maize, thinking that the rains had come, but it rained for 3 weeks and no more rains. It is now
So,
extremely hot.
yeah.
He tells me the problem is when it rains severely, it destroys the crops, and when it stops for a long
Completely.
time,
That's
and the sun is so scorching that it burns out all the
Everything.
plants.
You end
So
up
he
losing.
told me agriculture is really, really hard. But as we conclude this, Raymond, what are your parting shots on this subject we've been discussing today?
Well, maybe to give some few more effects before we conclude. I think mental health is another issue that is
Yeah.
becoming pertinent of late.
Okay.
Yes, mental health of these people. We know when we get to the extremes of the temperatures, especially the hot temperatures, because there are higher chances of us experiencing hotter temperatures than it is
Yeah.
to the other extreme. So you see how people, this person leaves home they come to hustle, it is very hot.
Yes.
This day probably they are not earning as they expected, but they're expected to facilitate the people they have at home. And before you know it, that is why the ministry says a very big number of us here are mentally challenged, yes, because of these issues. And you see how it might not be necessarily that people are running mad and they are shooting stones at people, but the challenges because of the temperatures themselves can irritate and get you off, yes.
Leave alone that. You leave work when you're stressed, what? You reach home, even the food that could maybe have comforted you, it's expensive. You've not worked. So it all comes back to us.
There is a lot of stress around that. Yeah. Plus the air pollution, the open burning, and all those things cause a lot of challenges. The respiratory diseases, people are having issues. Probably why COVID came around and people's immune systems were already low. These exposures that we get, the strokes, the increase in the number of cardiac diseases and all those things. Those are all issues that we need to look at, and our focus shouldn't be us having the facilities to treat us as the baseline. The baseline is us preventing the occurrence of these, yes?
Prevention is always better than cure.
There are quite a number of these, the diarrheal diseases, malaria and all these things, they are all related to the climate change somewhere.
Okay.
So, as we conclude, I should say, one, climate change and its effects is like a cancer. By the time you get to see the signs, it is probably too late to reverse it. So yet there is that option that you have of limiting your exposure to those that cause the cancers. So we are the people, the natural, the human activities are the ones that are relating to this burning issue of climate change and its effects to our health. So if we wait on probably first seeing the floods come, that cannot be reversed in an hour or two. It can't be reversed in a week's time. But if we start acting now, probably the future might be better. It might not be us, but let us leave a planet for our children and great-grandchildren that they will have pride in, because we have no planet B. Yes, we only have this planet, and this is our home. So if you leave your home shattered, yes, where will your children live? Where will you live tomorrow? It might not even wait for your children. It might be you. It might be one thing that will take your life. So I call upon everyone, it is a multi-sectoral thing. Don't wait for environmental health officers. Don't wait for KCCA. Don't claim that NEMA is quiet on this. It starts with you and every profession, as Austin has brought us here to share about this. That is his contribution probably. And everyone out there, the people in the studio, and the people out there, you can also play a part in curbing climate change. And in the end, you're protecting someone's life, you're protecting your life. So it is multi-sectoral, because we relate with this environment. It is where we stay. There is this concept of one health, yes? And health itself is not the mere absence of disease, yes, or infirmity, but it concerns your social well-being, your physical well-being, and your mental well-being. So it has broader effects on us. So health, let us look at health from a broader perspective, and surely we'll live a better life.
Thank you so much, Raymond. Bridget, what are your parting shots as we conclude this discussion?
As we conclude, I will say something that will seem funny, but it's not. I know we like cars. We are in a generation where I feel like when you don't have a car, you've not made it in life.
You're unfortunate.
But what we are running for is what is going to kill us. Because you want, these cars first and foremost, we say they are releasing a lot into the atmosphere, which we again breathe in and affects us. But it would be better if each of us owned a bicycle, not even a motorcycle, but a bicycle. Because when you're riding it, one, emissions are not there. Because what does a bicycle emit? Nothing. But then still, you're exercising, physical fitness, because he has said mere absence of disease doesn't mean that you're healthy. That means being healthy, even physically. So when you're riding your bicycle, imagine from Kawempe up to here, you could buy a bicycle, not necessarily a car.
During COVID, I was actually residing in Mukono. I used to ride it from Mukono to this place.
So you could resume, eh? You don't have to wait for lockdown.
How was the feeling riding from Mukono?
That is an experience for the next day.
Yeah, so that's what if all of us could do that. At least to some extent we would reduce emissions and ourselves be physically fit as we fight this climate change.
Thank you so much, Bridget. Thank you so much, Raymond. And thank you so much, you, our viewer. It's been a pleasure having you watching HealthPod. Today we are discussing climate change and its effect on our health, but also on our environment, because this is the only thing we have, our environment. It should be a place where we all are proud of. Therefore, it is our responsibility to safeguard the environment by doing what we've talked about and what we shall talk about probably in the coming episodes of HealthPod. God bless you. I've worked with Shama, David on camera, in transmission, Didmas, and very many other people working together to see that you watch HealthPod. Stay blessed. We meet again next week.